you doing good business. If I'm easy work, I heard him say I'm easy work. If I was easy work, you would take all that money that he's offering you.
Terence Crawford clapped back at Canelo Alvarez after Canelo called him an easy fight. Crawford boldly said that Canelo is the one who's scared to step into the ring with him. Terence Crawford, the WBO welterweight champion, weighed in on the recent back and forth between Canelo Alvarez and Turki Alalshikh, the head of the Saudi Arabian Boxing Federation. Canelo had been making noise about wanting to fight Crawford, but Crawford was skeptical about his motives. Crawford said it's crazy, and it makes me laugh all the antics Canelo is doing and saying in the media about the size, and he won't get any credit and all these types of things, but Canelo's been facing smaller guys his whole career. Crawford pointed out that Canelo had made his own catchweight for years, facing smaller opponents like Floyd Mayweather, Amir Khan, and Jermall Charlo. He added, "And I'm pretty sure he didn't make as much money with all those guys except Mayweather and even Edgar Berlanga right now than he would with me." Crawford believes that Canelo's excuses for not wanting to fight him are just that, excuses. Crawford commented that, "If it's all about business, then you'd be doing beneficial business." Crawford's comments highlight the ongoing debate about whether Canelo is truly committed to fighting the best opponents available. Canelo's critics argue that he has a history of avoiding tough fights, while his supporters maintain that he is simply fighting the best opponents who are willing to step up. Ultimately, it is up to Canelo to decide who he wants to fight next, but if he is serious about being the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world, he will need to face Crawford at some point. Another narrative is that Crawford is unhappy with Canelo's promoter, Eddie Hearn, after the fight. Hearn represents Canelo's next opponent, Edgar Berlanga, and also previously staged several of the Mexican's fights. As such, he was in attendance for the first press conference for Canelo versus Berlanga on Monday and was captured having an interesting exchange. Canelo said to Hearn, "You've been talking about me all week," to which Hearn replied, "We have to use your name to sell the Crawford versus Madoff FF show." Crawford has taken issue with this, though. As he said, "I thought it was disrespectful for Eddie Hearn to lie and say we had to use your name to promote the fight. We didn't use Canelo's name to push it. He's trying to stay friends with him, but it's rude to me. We didn't have to use Canelo's name to market anything." Crawford said that Eddie's saying that they had to use Canelo's name to sell his fight against Madoff was a disrespectful move.
Use Canelo's name to promote nothing. Anytime they ever gave me any question about Canelo, I shut it down. Just like, I'm pretty sure he'll shut it down. I'm focused on Berlanga. That's what he's going to say. Anytime I don't want to talk about Canelo, I don't want to speak about Canelo, I'm worried about one person. So for him to say we had to use his name.
Moreover, Oscar De La Hoya slammed Canelo for demanding $150 million to fight Crawford, saying he was outbidding himself. Oscar believes that Alalshikh was right to point out Canelo's ridiculous demand.
Making Canelo Crawford, maybe Virgil Crawford, if, Virgil gets past.
Absolutely. I think, look, the one thing that I respect about Your Excellency and Turkey is he wants to make the best fights. That's basically it. And a lot of fighters, they outprice themselves, therefore the fans lose, and we can't watch those fights. But now Turkey's coming in, paying money, but he's not paying absurd amounts of monies that fighters are not, worth. He's being reasonable. He's paying premiums, but perfect example is Canelo wanting $200 million to fight against Crawford. In other words, that means he doesn't want to fight.
Oscar also doesn't understand why Canelo is not giving the fight fans the David Benavidez fight. Oscar says that Canelo is making excuses and doesn't want to give beneficial fights. Oscar said that Alalshikh is saving boxing, and Canelo's answer towards him can screw it all up.
Million for Benavidez, and he want 150 million to fight me. So that just lets me know right there that I'm a threat to him. I'm a threat to him. I'm a threat to his legacy, because it would be crazy for a guy that started at 135 to come all the way up to 168, your weight, no catch weight, no none of that, and dethrone you. So, he got that in the back of his head. This guy, for one, he's tough. For two, he's a boxer. He moves, he can punch, he can do it all. I can't slip up and lose to this little guy. then what will my fans think of me? What will my
The history between Canelo and Oscar is not to be forgotten. This might be the reason why Oscar is very critical of Canelo. Oscar believes Canelo is scared of fighting the big fights. However, Oscar still believes that Canelo would be too much for Crawford. After watching his performance against Madrimov, he stated Crawford didn't look very dangerous up in the ring, but against a beast. So imagine Canelo being the bigger guy, being the beast up in the ring. It's almost like a no contest. I mean, when has a smaller good guy ever beaten a good bigger guy? It has never happened in the history of the sport. Crawford recently beat Israel Madrimov by a unanimous decision as he jumped a weight class to win the WBA super welterweight world title. Prior to the bout, there was plenty of talk about a potential future matchup between Crawford and Mexico's super middleweight King Canelo Alvarez. Saudi boxing chief Turki Alalshikh, who staged Crawford versus Madoff, previously expressed his desire to make the Canelo fight.
Terence Crawford versus Canelo.
As I tell before to the ESPN, I give him the offer. If he's smart, he will accept it.
But Turki changed his mind once Canelo came out and asked for a whopping $150 million offer to fight Terence Crawford. Alec was critical of Canelo after the Mexican champion dismissed the idea of working together under any terms other than his own during the press conference of Canelo versus Edgar Berlanga. Canelo was questioned about a potential offer from Alalshikh to fight Terence Crawford. However, Alvarez expressed his discontent with Alalshikh's approach. Canelo expressed dissatisfaction with Turki's stance on the potential fight, stating that if the Saudis wish to collaborate with him, they must adhere to Canelo's terms in retaliation. Alalshikh, who has become well known in the boxing world thanks to substantial financial support from the Saudi crown prince, publicly charged Alvarez with dodging difficult matches. Alalshikh's response appeared to put an end to any potential cooperation between the two in the future. Turki posted, "I heard what Canelo said, that he respects me, but doesn't like the way we do business. As for him respecting me, it doesn't matter to me if he does or not. As for the way I do business, I know why he doesn't like it, because I only target big fights at fair prices. Of course, anyone who likes easy fights won't like." That he further continued, "And I know how he feels after losing to Ball, so he's been looking for easier fights ever since. Also, I'm not the one who's afraid of fighting David Benavidez or Crawford. Therefore, I knew he was wasting our time and making excuses with big amounts of money that can't be paid, so I'm continuing my way to make fights that serve the boxing world, and he's on his way to making easy show only fights then." In response to His Excellency's critical post, Canelo Alvarez expressed his lack of interest in His Excellency's opinions by using the sobbing emoji. In fact, Turki's remarks don't appear to concern Alvarez, because it's Alvarez who needs Turki, not the other way around. Canelo Alvarez, a Mexican boxer, believes he'll easily beat Terence Crawford, another elite welterweight boxer, due to his impressive record and wins over renowned boxers, despite Crawford's undefeated record and skills. Canelo's size and experience give him an edge. The boxing world awaits this potential fight.
Said that he would be willing to pay whatever you want to fight Crawford.
Fine.
Yeah.
If he's willing to pay whatever I want, comes down.
That'll work. And so if yeah, you're in. So if the numbers were right with Crawford, you'll do it.
Why not? Why not?
Mm-hmm.
I think Crawford, don't get me wrong, he's a great fighter.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, in my weight class, it's an easy fight.
Mm-hmm.
For me, easy money. So if the money is right, I'm in. Because, you know, I don't like to fight guys like Crawford because he move a lot and the fight is not that great.
Mm-hmm. I
saw Crawford the last fight, and he don't move that much now. So if the money is right, I mean, why not?
Reacting to this, Crawford believes that Canelo is making these excuses because he knows that Crawford would be a threat to his legacy. Crawford replied, "I heard him say, I'm easy work. If I was easy work, then you would take all that money he's offering you, but still he wants $200 million for David Benavidez, and he wants $50 million to fight me. So that just lets me know right there that I'm a threat to him. I'm a threat to him, and I'm a threat to his legacy. Crawford showing against Madoff wasn't the most decisive. Looking into a possible matchup against Canelo, many think that the Mexican would be too much for Crawford. Bob Santos also thinks that it would be a step too far for Crawford if he faces Canelo. He stated, "I think it'll be a step too big for him, but he has earned the right to try it." I think Canelo would be too big and too strong for him at 168. I could be wrong. He could prove us wrong, but for the most part, I think that's just a lot to ask of Bud to go to 168. I may think it's a step too far, but that's what makes him great. That's why he was able to win at 135, 140, 147, and now 154, and he's been successful every single time, so he's at least earned that right. That's what makes him great. Santos concedes that Crawford's legacy has been built on taking risks, and that he's earned the benefit of the doubt to make a decision like this. Crawford seems to be dead set on it, but we'll see if it ever comes to fruition. Lou DiBala advised Bud to not go for Canelo right now after watching his performance against Madoff. He posted Bud boxed like Bud, and still, I think he had less snap on his punches at 154 lbs. Not much power is evident. I think that resulted in Madrimov getting maybe too much credit. That and the frustration his bouncy, herky-jerky style was creating for Bud at 168. No, not now. Mario Lopez said that Crawford shouldn't call out Canelo after this kind of performance.
He fights Canelo, I'll tell you right now. No. After that, I don't think so. I mean, hey, Vandermont's a badass dude, though. He's a badass dude. The whole night was great, though. Good to see you,
Issy Smith believed the weight jump didn't carry well for Crawford and advised him to stay at 154 and not fight Canelo. Smith said Bud should stay at 154, don't fight Canelo. Don't think the weight carried well, but Carlos Adams, who sparred with Terence Crawford, believes that Terence shouldn't be fighting Canelo right now. He thinks that Canelo punches really hard, and it will be dangerous for Terence's boxing career.
Vi tres divisiones bastante libres, demasiadas yo diría. Pienso que no es algo que él lo necesita ahora mismo. Crawford en su carrera ha demostrado que es un buen peleador, pero pienso que no tiene que estar corriendo esos grandes riesgos, porque no solamente pone su carrera en riesgo, también pone su vida, porque un golpe de Canelo le puede hacer daño de por vida.
I don't think Crawford needs the Canelo fight right now. I think it's kind of needless for Crawford because his reputation is well cemented, and a punch by Canelo could not only be dangerous for him to lose the fight, but it would be dangerous for his life. So no need for Crawford to cross the line into such a heavy weight class.
Gracias, campeón. Thank you.
Crawford cares about his life, and with the sparring partner Kieran Davis, who has shared the ring with both fighters, thinks that size will play a major role in this fight. He believes that Terence is a great fighter with skills, but the opponent he will be facing has skill and size both. He said that it's a big advantage for Canelo, as he is bigger than Crawford, and it'll be too hard for Crawford to gain victory against Canelo, he stated. Davis believes Crawford would find it challenging to cause real damage to Canelo, who is known for his granite chin. Even at light heavyweight, he stated absolutely he would have to fight the perfect fight. Size will play a factor in that fight. It'll be a lot harder to damage Canelo, and Canelo's punches will be way more effective than Crawford's punches if they fight at 168, so it'll be an issue. It's not impossible, but it will be hard. Evander Holyfield believes that it would be difficult for Crawford to beat Canelo. Evander thinks this because of the weight jump Crawford will have to make in order to fight Canelo. Holyfield stated it's going to be hard for him to beat Canelo. He's real basic, but he's a good fighter. Daniel Jacobs believes it will be a stern test for Crawford, who has expressed the desire to move all the way up to 168 lbs to fight Canelo. Alvarez Jacobs, who fought Canelo to a unanimous decision loss in May 2019, is giving Crawford a chance against Alvarez. If the super bout were to ever happen, he stated, skills sometimes pay the bills, and we know for sure that Crawford has the skills over Canelo. It's just sometimes power, weight, and experience may have a factor in that, so it will be a good test for Crawford, but I think the fans are the winners in that particular fight. Bernard Hopkins looked concerned for Terence Crawford, questioning his decision. He stressed Crawford's well-being and benefits, asking what good the fight with Canelo could bring.
And with that fight, what do that fight do for Canelo, fighting Crawford, and Crawford beats Canelo? What do that do for Canelo? I just think that there are so many other fights to make that's realistic, it makes sense, and less life-risking
Bernard further added, "I have serious reservations about Crawford's decision to pursue this fight with Canelo. It's a risky move, and I question the wisdom behind it. As someone who's been in the ring and understands the physical toll it takes, I worry about Crawford's well-being in a matchup against someone like Canelo. What benefit does this fight hold for Crawford? There are plenty of other viable matchups available that don't carry the same level of risk." Bernard Hopkins says that he'd like to see Virgil Ortiz versus Terence Crawford instead of Crawford facing Canelo after watching Crawford's performance against Madrimov.
Displayed last week and a half, but Crawford, to me, I believe, won the fight. I believe the fight could have won a draw, so you can't look at that fight and say that he's there for pickings, that his time is running out. We get up for certain fights at that level, and sometimes it can be not as good as the one that you got up for, which was Earl Spence. So I'm not fooled by what people might be saying about Crawford, whether it's time, whether it's not. Nah, I say he gets up for fights that he gets up for, and he at that age where it takes something super exciting to get excited about. I would like to see Virgil, based on this Saturday, how he looks, how he executes, and how he wins. That it gives me a blueprint to see, yeah, he won, but will he win this way with Crawford?
Virgil Ortiz's trainer, Robert Garcia, shared his thoughts on Terence Crawford's recent performance against Israel Madrimov, calling it a close fight, but insufficient to convince fans that Crawford could successfully compete against Canelo Alvarez in a higher weight class. Garcia suggested a fight against Ortiz would be a better option for Crawford. He stated that Crawford's showing may not have been strong enough to justify expectations of him excelling against Canelo, making an Ortiz matchup a logical next step. Former world champion and boxing analyst Pauline Malining echoed similar sentiments, advising Crawford to remain in the 154-pound division and focus on fights against top competitors like Virgil Ortiz Jr., Sebastian Fundora, and Tim Tszyu. According to Malining, while Crawford may not be the strongest physically in the division, his exceptional boxing IQ and skill set enable him to compete at the highest level. However, he acknowledged the risks involved, especially given Crawford's age, 36, and the competitiveness of the 154-pound division. Malining highlighted several appealing matchups for Crawford, including Ortiz Jr., Fundora, Tszyu, Sherry Bohachuk, and even a rematch with Madrimov. He noted that Ortiz Jr., seen as a slight favorite against Bohachuk, would present a significant challenge to Crawford. Malining also praised Tszyu, emphasizing that the cut he suffered against Fundora shouldn't diminish his standing as a formidable potential opponent. Ultimately, Malining believes staying at 154 pounds would not only allow Crawford to face stiff competition, but also cement his legacy as one of the best pound-for-pound fighters of his generation. Meanwhile, rumors of a Crawford-Canelo fight appear to have fizzled out, with reports indicating that the matchup is now off the table. While fans had hoped for a summer showdown between Canelo and longtime WBC mandatory David Benavidez, Canelo instead opted to fight Edgar Berlanga. Benavidez had campaigned relentlessly for the fight, but Canelo showed little interest unless offered an exorbitant $200 million payday. This decision has drawn criticism, with many accusing Canelo of avoiding tougher opponents in favor of easier paydays as his career progresses. Canelo's reluctance to face Benavidez has sparked frustration among fans and analysts. Stephen A. Smith, for example, opposes the idea of a Crawford-Canelo fight, citing the significant size difference. He believes Canelo should face Benavidez instead, calling him the best in the 168-pound division. Smith stated that boxing fans want to see champions face one another, particularly a reigning super middleweight champion like Canelo taking on Benavidez. He argued that Benavidez deserves the opportunity, having proven himself at the top of the division. Conor McGregor also weighed in, criticizing Canelo's drawing power. McGregor mocked Canelo's pay-per-view numbers, claiming the boxer doesn't generate enough revenue to justify his high demands and predicting that the UFC would overshadow him on a competing fight night. In response, Canelo dismissed McGregor's comments, attributing them to an attempt to promote the UFC, and reaffirmed his confidence in his own legacy. Despite the controversies, Robert Garcia expressed his desire to see a potential clash between Canelo and Benavidez, describing it as a battle of two boxing titans. For now, Crawford seems better positioned to stay at 154 pounds, while the boxing world continues to debate the paths and choices of its biggest stars.
I think that Benavidez is going to stay at 175 because I don't think him versus Canelo is going to happen. I think there's already been so much talk, so much saying back and forth to a point where Canelo is going to say, why? I just don't want to give it to him. You know, Canelo has that power. You know, he doesn't need the fight against Benavidez. To us, I would love to see the fight.
Garcia thinks that Benavidez has the tool to beat Canelo, but you can never count out a legend like Canelo. He claimed Canelo is so talented that he could actually win this fight. I truly feel like Benavidez has the tools to beat Canelo, but I could be wrong. He also thinks that Canelo is not afraid of fighting Ben as he has faced them all. Canelo has fought everybody. I don't think he's afraid. I think he's too proud. Just saying that I can do anything I want. I don't have to please everybody that's asking for this fight. He's like, I don't have to please Benavidez or his dad, who have said things about Canelo that weren't too nice. I think he'll get a lot of credit for giving this fight to the boxing world, but he doesn't have to do it, so I don't blame him for that. However, Floyd Mayweather thinks that Canelo should be tried against a fighter like Benavidez. Instead, he said, if it were up to him, we'd want to see Benavidez face Canelo. It's time for Canelo to stop cherry-picking opponents and take on a real threat like Benavidez. Floyd thinks that Canelo should face David in order to cement his reputation even further. Ben Avid is a hungry lion, and Canelo needs to step up to face him if he wants to prove he's truly the best. I respect Canelo's accomplishments, but dodging Benavidez only raises questions about his desire to take on real challenges when asked who he thinks would have an upper hand during a potential fight between Canelo and Benavidez. Rio says that there's no question that Canelo is an elite boxer, but right now David is just too quick and hungry for him to handle. Rio stated David beats Canelo. He's too fast. He's too hungry. Canelo is a good fighter, though I'd take off my hat for him. He's a talented Mexican boxer who has done a lot. He will definitely go down in the history books as one of the best to ever do it, but right now, when I watch Canelo live, I think David beats him. Rio Valenzuela thinks that if Canelo fights Crawford first, then the chances of him fighting Benitez would become very slim, but he also believes that David should get a shot at Canelo because he deserves.
He keeps saying, you know, if the money's right, so I think the money will be right, you know, eventually. It depends which route Canelo goes, though. You know, it sounds like Terence Crawford, the Saudis want to make that fight happen. So if he fights Crawford, then I think it will be less likely he'll fight Benavidez. But, yeah, hopefully David gets it. You know, I think he deserves it. You know, he didn't.
So what are your ideas about this? What do you make of this feud between Canelo and Turki? Is Canelo scared of Crawford? Do let us know in the comment part below. If you liked this video, make sure to subscribe and check out some of our other videos on the screen right now.